Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 60 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I am joined, as always, by my tag team partner, Crumbo Guerrero Jr.
Ooh. I had no idea I was a Guerrero.
I feel like, well, do you get that?
No, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, okay, so I was struggling with this one because I was like, man, I really want to do Crumbo Guerrero Jr. because that's fun to me. But also, maybe I should do a reference that he's actually going to get.
Well, let's see. I mean, you didn't call me like Campbell McRooney the Manslayer or whatever, so you're kind of missing me here.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Anime bullshit. There you go. See, we're speaking two very different languages, but every 2 weeks or so, we have this meeting of the cultures, this meeting of the minds, and across the great cultural divide across we live, we're able to come together and talk about toy soldiers for an hour and a half.
Two different sides of the middle-class white guy culture.
Of the middle-class white guy nerd culture, yes, correct.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well,
you're a PlayStation man. I'm a Nintendo man. It's all good.
I do have a PlayStation.
You do? I have a PS2. But
did you know that I'm a PlayStation consumer, or were you just guessing?
I am aware. I've spotted that when I was at your home. I've been at two of your homes.
Yeah. Next year you'll be at 3.
I'm very excited to go to Casa de Boyd.
Though that one will probably be the last one for a while, if all goes well.
I would hope so.
Because I'm buying a house and it rules. Yeehaw. Okay, let's move on. Let's get into the aspects here, Crumbo. Mm-hmm. We've it's how we start the show. It's what we do. We talk about what's on our hobby radar. And Absolutely. I'll start because I always do. And we have a fucking schedule to keep here. So I'm still working on Shrike. I have been out of town for the past week. I have had a ton of work to do. I've had a ton of home buying related bullshit to slog through. So my hobby time has been fairly contraindicated lately, but I'm getting close to done on Shrike and he's looking mighty cool.
Very nice. I'm really looking forward to seeing your take on him. Are you sticking to doing a streak in his hair?
Yes, I have it. It is the next thing I'm going to highlight. it actually, like, no shit, it looks really good. It breaks up his hair shape a little bit, which works, because otherwise it's just black, you know?
Yeah, black on black power armor.
Well, I guess you don't have to paint his hair black, but...
No, but I mean, it's the Raven Guard thing.
He's not a blonde. He's not like a tan blonde guy.
Yeah, he's not like a Dolph Lundgren sort of character.
Wouldn't that be funny if they just retconned it to like all of the Raven Guard guys, instead of having like super pale skin, black hair, and completely black eyes, they were like super tan with blue eyes and blonde hair, and they spoke like surfers, but they were like brooding surfers.
Well, beach goth is a real aesthetic. I think he's really. I think if you really wanted to get colorful with the hair colors, that every single hair color on a Raven Guard character would have to correspond to something in the Manic Panic brand of hair dyes. Yeah. You really have to get that Hot Topic chic sort of colorful look.
I'm trying to think of a Beach Boys joke, but all I can come up with is Beach Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, all right. That's not a bad start.
Okay.
Man.
I'm sorry. Okay. No, we're not gonna get derailed into that. Not this time, fuckos.
Not this time.
All right. So working on Shrike, I built 3 more Eliminators in my hotel room in Chicago last week.
Nice.
Which was, a perfectly acceptable thing to do in a hotel room, and better than what most people probably do in hotel rooms.
Yes. Far less illicit.
That's a masturbation joke. So I built 3. Sorry. God,
I mean, little from column A, little from column B. You've got time.
Yeah. So I built 3 more Eliminators from the Eliminators kit, not the Shadow Spear box. And that kit has a shit ton of extra bits.
I'm really excited to get my hands in that kit. I actually saw somebody do some really cool conversions, kit bashing that with, I think, the new infiltrator kit, where they're able to get some like crouching infiltrators or standing eliminators instead. Because like once you build, the way the models are these days, where like their torsos and their legs are like one piece, you're able to build them, then saw them in half or whatever, and do some more advanced kit bashing that way. Yeah. And if you were to do, say, a third squad of eliminators and you want them to look cool, you could probably even get like the easy to build Reavers kit if you just want 3 cheap bodies and just use that as the base and cut them off at the belt line and
at the waist.
tack them on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Because I was thinking about doing a third squad just because Raven Guard Eliminators are stupid fucking good.
Yes, they are.
Like that actually is kind of an attractive proposition to me because the way that they are built is somewhat they're a little too individualistic, for repeats. You know what I mean?
Oh, completely.
Yeah. So they look great though. They're great models, but like if you have two of those boxes, two of the squads, they're just going to look so similar, even if you give them the slight options that can change them.
Yeah. Yeah. You may as well just gotten Shadow Spear twice.
Right. So I hate this, but I'm running out of room in my GW Ard case. So I might have to start decanting.
Yes. Vocabulary word of episode 59 is back with a vengeance, baby.
Yeah, that's right. So I got to get up there and start decanting sometime soon, which, I don't want to, but.
Well,
fuck.
I can't wait to have this conversation again in 2 weeks.
I made that joke last time.
Oh, you did? Shit.
Yeah, that's my joke. You owe me. You owe me 50 cents.
Oh no! Oh no! I'll give it to you when I give you this half of this month's Patreon reparations or whatever.
So the last Hobby Progress bit, I have finished my quote unquote primer for the Winter Necromunda campaign that I'm going to run in the local DC area. And
very cool.
I have been talking to Jules, our friend, who helps me run the Cinco de Necro / Necromunda Spa, whatever that we called the first one. He's been helping me figure out some of the stuff in this one, and I think it's going to be kind of a baller little thing, and I can't wait to get it going. So I should be sending out emails to people soon. I just have to figure out how to do a Discord server now. Because that's how it's so easy to use, and I don't want to run things via email. So that's my current hurdle. And I'm an idiot, listener, so a lot of people might be thinking, oh, Dan, that's easy. That's nothing. But understand that I'm stupid, and it's very hard for me to do things. So, I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better, but, I can't. I watch too much wrestling.
Yeah, that's where the real brain damage is, not from actually wrestling, but from just watching it.
Oh, well, my sports-related injuries mostly came from football.
Well,
though I guess I did tear my MCL wrestling. Oh, that was a bad day. My foot I was getting we were practicing back takedowns, and interesting. The guy who caused me to tear my MCL is none other than a fellow by the name of Tony Cavallero, who is an actor, and he was recently in the HBO show The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, cool. So you were you had the shit kicked out of you by a semi-famous person.
Yes.
That's really cool. A friend of mine, my friend Sully, allegedly got punched in the face by Christian Bale while he was filming The Fighter. And that's the closest I get to that.
Christian Bale does not seem like a nice person to work with.
Well, it was a part where he's running along the side of the road, doing the air boxing thing. And they're like, yeah, Dickie Roberts, pride of Lowell. And he just is air punching in the air. And Sully was too close to him and apparently got a little right jab while he was running by. And he didn't even apologize.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Love the Boston area. It's fantastic.
I mentioned this to you earlier today, but I've been watching a lot of This Old House lately.
Yeah.
And This Old House is set in Boston. Well, I guess usually in the suburbs of Boston. But I feel like because of the amount of this show that I watch, I kind of know a lot about Boston and its surrounding suburbs. I really don't, but I feel like I do.
But I've looked at a lot of them on TV.
Like Arlington.
What about
season 37, which is what I'm watching right now. Arlington, Massachusetts. Seems like a nice place.
It is a nice place. It's prohibitively expensive, but does have a delivery ice cream sundae place there that I went to or had come to me far too often when I lived nearby.
Was that when you lived in Somerville?
It was in it was in two of the places I lived in Somerville. We got delivery from the Scoop and Scootery on the reg.
Local Boston chat in this podcast. How you doing?
And I do not mind giving the Scoop and Scootery a plug on this show because they are wonderful.
All right. Okay, so what have you been working on?
Ooh, well, I haven't really been painting a whole shitload. I finished the Marauders I was talking about last time, the Marauder Bombers.
Oh, just a half shitload. Just a nugget load. Just a dingleberry.
Just a single butt nugget of progress, yeah. So I painted my 2 Marauder Bombers and like the radar bases for them.
It wasn't a whole shitload. It was just a fart load.
Oh my God. Here I sit brokenhearted, came to shitload, only farted.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's fine. That's fine. That's what the show is all about. It's all about intensely regional ice cream delivery chat and poop jokes and nothing but.
We're talking about different fucking neighborhoods in Boston and poop.
Could we be more on brand? Yes. Keep listening to find out. Oh
man, listeners, I hope you make it past this part of the podcast because it's gonna get good. I promise. It's just, we're terrible at this. So it's the 40k Badcast. It's not the 40k Goodcast.
Practice doesn't make perfect or even necessarily better. It just makes. All right. 2 Marauder Bombers, done. Love them. Same scheme as the Thunderbolts I did last time. But I also got most of the way through 5 Reavers and the Phobos Lieutenant from the Shadow Spear box.
Oh.
I just batch painting them all together because I'm painting them the same way, which is with my typical Phobos armor, like black and blue sort of breakup.
Yeah.
So those guys are most of the way there. I just need to like transfers, weathering, and some metallic highlighting, and they'll be ready to go.
Metallica?
Yeah, some Metallica highlighting. I'm not getting sidetracked again. We're talking about Warhammer right now. Jesus Christ. Okay. So I also was able to do my favorite part of Hobby Progress, which is amassing more shit to work on. So it was recently my birthday. And in the process of that whole thing, I got some stuff from friends, listeners, like family and everything. So I got an Invictor Warsuit. I got the Empire Standard Bearer from the old, I think it was like a White Dwarf exclusive from 2008 or something like that. But there's this metal Griffin Standard Bearer that is extremely cool. And there's no way in hell it's going to stand on that 20 millimeter base reasonably. Because it's got this fucking 2-inch square metal flag on top of it. But I also got the Rin's World Combat Zone. I got the campaign book. I got a set of Marauder Destroyers and the Cities of Sigmar cards. So I got a lot of the purchasing as progress shit. But also, I went to Armies on Parade at my local Games Workshop store.
Oh.
So I was pretty excited about this. Yeah, I know. It's because it's like what? It's like halfway between the Baltimore O sound and what is it? Chuck Avery, like the wolf watching, like every time he sees any sort of lady just going, ow. It is dead in the middle is the typical Dan Ow sound.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Chuck Avery? Yeah. Tex Avery. So I went to Armies on Parade and I found it required me being there from 11 a.m. till 7 p.m.
Nope.
And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I have things to do tonight. So I left around 2 o'clock. And then I got a message from Dylan. He's like, yo, check Facebook for the Warhammer store. You still got some awards. So even though I left after like 2 or 3 hours, I still got 3rd place overall, best 40k army, and curiously best newcomer. And which I don't think I was in the running for that one. And not only is it not my first army I've submitted Armies on Parade, it's not my first Ultramarines army I've submitted to Armies on Parade. So, I mean, cool, I'll take it. But so I got those. No, so I went back in for their store birthday this weekend, where I also picked up the voucher essentially to get to the event sergeant guy, the one who's kind of like Mads Mikkelsen, who's got the chainsword dork on his base.
Yeah.
So I got one of that guy too, or I will be able to get one of that guy when the order comes in. But yeah, I picked those up. So I've got a nice little bronze medal up there too, which I assume if I really want to have my full medal power when I'm at AdeptCon again and I have way too many medals on, I just need to have that thing kind of welded to my chest like Iron Man. So I can just kind of always have metal on me.
Yeah, that's not going to get obnoxious at all.
Oh no, it's not obnoxious to wear all the medals to begin with anyway.
Man, I'm definitely wearing my trivia medal to trivia if they do trivia again. Also, Adepticon, hey, here's an idea. Post your fucking event list, please.
I think they're supposed to next month. I hope so.
I thought it was November.
Anyway.
Oh, it's not November yet. Fuck. It's almost November.
It's not. is very close to November. By the time you're listening to this, it might be November.
It's very... Oh, it definitely will be. I don't think I'm going to get this out until the 1st.
Cool. I'm not going to be around till then.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyways, have you done any more hobby progress?
That's it for hobby progress.
How many games played?
I played one game of Age of Sigmar versus my pal Ross.
Was it fun?
It was fun. It was a 2,000 point game, but it was his first time playing in a long time and my first time playing a big game in a while. And I just got new rules for my Empire dudes. So it was rather lengthy for just us kind of being rusty on it. And I played very active and very aggressive with my Empire, which is not how they're very good. Like they're good if they're standing still and waiting for you to come to them. So it was more fun, but it didn't do super well for me. But it was still like a pretty close game by the end of it. It was a 15 to 17 defeat for the Empire.
I'm kind of surprised because normally when you report on AOS, your report is like, oh, I played one of my best friends who's a really nice guy who does like work with children and dogs and shit. And he's like super handsome and he makes a lot of money. And we played Age of Sigmar and I literally murdered him. He is dead now.
I mean, I will say Ross had one model left at the end of the game.
Oh, how many models did you have?
62.
So you're just burying the fucking lead is what you're telling me.
Yes. I'm burying the lead as well as about 200 orcs. Yes.
God. Oh, brutal. I did not play any games.
Okay. Well, it was fun. I look forward to playing more. I look forward to also getting the full Cities of Sigmar rulebook so I can actually know what all my rules are because a lot of little things changed just enough for it to play differently. So
Cities of Sigmar. Sigmar is like Sigmar's brother, but he sort of just chills. Sigmar's out there like, I don't know what Sigmar does.
Throws lightning bolts and broods a lot.
He's Zeus.
He is, yeah, he's like Nordic Zeus.
Thor?
Ooh, Odin.
I thought Thor was the lightning bolts.
Yeah, but Zeus is usually pictured as like the big old guy with the big beard.
Can't wait for the emails about this one.
Oh, God.
All right, let's move on to new stuff. And there is quite a bit to talk about, and I'm gonna lose my mind for the last part of it. So let's just get through this, okay?
Sure.
So impulsors and cursors and infiltrators are available in stores, and cool. I'm sure we're gonna see a bunch of impulsors on the table coming up.
The impulsor being $75 kind of hurts though, because like.
I mean, repulsor is $100.
A repulsor executioner is 100. A repulsor is 80, and an impulsor is 75. Like I was expecting to be like 6. I was expecting to be like 60.
The points to dollars conversion is not good.
No, it's not good.
It's not
good. The model's dope though.
The model is dope.
It's growing on me more and more.
And the rules of the model are extremely dope. So expect to see a lot of those, everybody. I'm sure all of our non-Marine players are going to get real fucking annoyed at impulsors.
Well, when we went to the Games Workshop store, I went there with Spencer, and he just like grabbed the 2 they had, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting 1, but okay.
I definitely.
you can have them. I'm not gonna say anything about this now. I'm gonna say something about this on the radio in like 3 days.
Oh, I was gonna get 1 too. Hey, what? What'd you say? You say something? No, I didn't.
No. It would just be really nice if there was, a 3rd impulsor on the shelf.
I feel like you're channeling what's his nuts from Office Space.
Milton.
Milton, thank you. That sounds like another town in Boston.
It is.
Perfect. Okay. Salamanders and Imperial Fists are here. Salamanders, rules-wise, Salamanders seem really strong.
So I haven't really done all my homework on how good they are.
Well,
I heard some people saying fists are really strong, but I'm not sure that's true either.
You don't have to do your homework on Salamanders.
No, I don't.
You can do somebody else's. Well, I guess you can read off somebody else's homework because Goonhammer, our favorite website on the entire internet, has put out 2 articles on the new Salamanders and Fists. Well, 1 for each, but so 2 in total. Whatever. New supplements, and if you haven't read them, you should because they break it down. They break everything down.
I'm really looking forward to someone getting salty at us and being like, look at these fucking sellouts plugging Goonhammer in every single episode. They must be paying them so much. It's like, they don't pay us a dime. They make no money.
Goonhammer currently does not make any money. And it is. I write a weekly column on Goonhammer. And you write, sometimes columns.
Yeah.
God, this weekly column is killing me. Between my real job, this second job of doing the podcast, and now my third job of writing that column, I am getting stretched thin, my dude.
Yeah, my Goonhammer job is usually some Rob or Corrode saying like, "Hey Campbell, you should do an article on like an army showcase one of your armies." Me going, "Yeah, I should," and me closing Discord.
I totally should. That's correct. All right, so
that's a great idea. Bye.
So Salamanders players and Fist players, rejoice! You all have got your supplements. Now all we're waiting on is Black Templar players and for them to be happy.
Yeah, we're never happy. It's role playing.
Crimson Fist got a bunch of stuff in the Imperial Fist Codex, but your Black Templars, your angriest boys, they're nowhere to be seen.
No, my cooler Sons of Dorn still don't have good rules. Although one of the Psychic Awakening things ends on the videos ends on a Templar cross, so maybe something will be in there.
Maybe. All right.
Maybe.
For Aeronautica Imperialis, the heavy bomber is coming out this week, or I guess pre-order this weekend. And I mean, I haven't played any AI yet, but I really fucking want to. And I think I might be leaning towards orcs in AI.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well then.
Yeah. So the heavy bomber and the grot bomber are two things I'm very, very interested in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I just bought the Marauder Destroyers, so you can probably guess what direction I'm leaning.
Oh, I know. Anyways, back to Psychic Awakening. There is a Psychic Awakening teaser with a fleur de lis.
Ooh, also that.
And that's that means only one thing in the Warhammer universe. Sisters.
Yeah, the turn of House Lakar. What?
What? No, so Sisters of Battle maybe get something for Psychic Awakening, but I have a note here. If they're going to zag on us and it's Sisters of Silence, I just have to stress that is the opposite of a Psychic Awakening.
Sisters of Silence, their logo is the skull with the mouth grill with the Navigator House eye in the middle. So that is not Sisters of Silence.
I just wanted to make a joke about Sisters.
That's fair.
Okay.
Although here's the thing: if they're like Psychic Awakening, new Sisters of Battle, by the way, their codex comes out and invalidates this 3 weeks later, I'd be very excited.
That'd be extremely on brand for GW. Okay, so Spiel. Or is it Spiel? Spiel with a sh.
Yep.
Spiel in Germany happened.
Spiel reveals.
And just let me guide us through this here because I'm going to lose my mind at one part. And you're going to know why.
I will probably know why.
So Blood Bowl Ogres are announced.
Yep.
Now, Ogres are a very interesting team in Blood Bowl, Campbell. And I want you to guess why.
Because they're all stupid?
Yes.
And you have the biggest guys and the smallest guys.
Yes. And they are a bad team. They are very hard to play well. Because your big stupid ogres will, they have you roll dice. If they roll a 1, they can't do anything that turn.
It's a fun mechanic. It's not a fun mechanic.
And then the Noblar, or what were they called before?
No, they're Noblars.
They're
Snotlings. Called Grots now.
They were
Snotlings.
They were Snotlings. Now they're Noblars.
Okay, because they're Ogre Kingdoms styled, not old Ogre styled. Yeah.
So the Noblars are also just the weakest and shittiest Blood Bowl players, even worse than Halflings.
But what if Goblins, but worse? Although there is the Noblar, the Broken Bottle, and that is in the running for my favorite model.
The models are fucking fantastic. The Blood Bowl models, like up and down the board, are really, really fucking strong. And the Ogres are no exception to this. But yeah, Ogres are a lot of fun. They are not a good team, though, and I would not recommend them to any new Blood Bowl players because you will just not know what's happening. They do not play like any other team.
Yep.
Okay, and then the Blood Bowl 2019 Almanac is coming out, which I love that they're doing these because puts all the rules in one book.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of things that collect things like that. It does keep me from buying things like, Gang War 1, Gang War 2, Gang War 3, etc. for Necromunda, but I think they're much more consumer friendly and more usable as a gamer.
Yes. Warcry, there was an announcement. I think it was
Spire Tyrants. Here's my leather daddies. I love those models. I like them a lot. Some people were kind of iffy about them, but I think it's cool.
They seem really generic to me. Like you look at the rest of the Warcry models. Well, not all of them. There's that one group that looks like they took Chaos Marauders and stuck Thousand Suns helmets on them. The Mirrored Blade, I think they're called.
Oh, you don't take those ones?
No, I think they are very boring compared to the rest of the Warcry stuff.
Interesting. I would have guessed you thought the not Wild Hunt, whatever the guys with like the bone weapons and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, they're boring too.
Nah, I dig them all. I dig all the different flavors of Chaos Barbarian they got going on.
I mean, you've got like Iron Daddies, you've got Snake Daddies, you've got Crow Daddies, you've got Leather Daddies, you've got weird body modification daddies.
Yeah, Hellraiser Daddies, yeah.
Like there's so many different daddies and even zaddies. But yeah, these guys, they just don't do it for me.
Too many dads. I don't know. I dig them. I like that they have the mix of the dwarf and the beast man and the regular models in there too. I just wish that I want this. This is like the Chaos Marauder aesthetic, like the old Chaos Marauder models. I just wish the actual Chaos Marauder models looked like these, and they were multi-part Marauders that weren't made in the 90s with Catachan heads, because they have them.
I guess Warhammer Underpants is getting something.
I forget what. I don't have the note on there, but
I have it on my notes as Warhammer Underpants, blah, blah, blah. So really care about that.
You are correct.
And then here's something you might be interested in.
Yes.
Because you're a weeb.
I am a weeb, and there are cheebs.
The cheebs for weebs. The little cute figures of Warhammer 40,000 characters were shown in color, I think.
Yeah, because they were just like renders or resin prints beforehand.
And they look adorable.
I want all of them.
I particularly like
and put them on my desk.
The Eversor Assassin. I think that one's my favorite. I really like
the Eversor. Yeah.
And were there any other announcements from Spiel?
I don't know. I don't really think there's anything that would interest us specifically on top of that, or that would sidetrack our conversation for another 25 minutes or anything with how relevant it is to our specific interests. I can't think of anything.
I'm getting a text.
Oh no! Is that Jervis? Is that Jervis?
John Q. listener who's listening to the live version of our podcast right now, and he's telling me Necromunda is getting a new box. Woo! I got to tell you, bud, this is really exciting.
Excited.
I've been holding back my excitement for this entire show, and I just got excited right now because this Dark Uprising box is fucking crazy. Now,
yeah, the models are nuts.
Before we continue, we must temper our excitement. The box is going to cost $300.
Oh, fuck. Are you serious?
So there was like a leaked shipping manifest or something that came out, and that had some prices for stuff. And if I remember correctly, the Dark Uprising box was priced at $290. Now, I do not know if that is Freedom dollars or if that is Down Under bucks, because a lot of the times things get leaked in Down Under bucks.
Yeah. But if it's Crocodile Dunder bucks, it's not going to be very much money. It's going to be like $100.
Yeah. So grain of salt and all that stuff, listeners. But it is a crazy good box. And my first note here in my notes is the words "holy shit" repeated 10 times.
I think that's pretty accurate. All right, so let's tackle things one thing at a time.
Okay.
New box, is that going to mean new book? We don't know.
Yeah, it does. It's a new book called The Book of Ruin. Wow. Okay. I know.
Well,
no, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Is there going to be a new book in the box?
Yeah.
Oh God, I fucking hope so.
Yeah, because my Necromunda rulebook.
I fucking hope so.
My Necromunda rulebook that came with the initial release of Underhive is useless.
Invalidated.
Yeah.
We're actually let's save that because we're gonna come back to that conversation and we make the call.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Quick foreshadowing there.
Oh,
hold up,
cool. Spoilers.
My headphone wire is caught in the wheel of my chair. Don't you just hate when this happens?
I would if my headphone wire is if most of my headphones weren't wireless.
Oh no. Oh, Campbell, it's really stuck.
No.
Oh, got it.
Take your time.
Okay.
Cool.
Good. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So a new book. Does that mean there's a new book? I fucking hope so.
All right. So now let's go for the models inside there, like just the dudes.
So there's.
How do you feel about the corpse grinders?
Oh man. Oh, buddy. Oh, that aesthetic is. Oh, I like it. They look weird as hell. Like they have like these weird headdresses and like cages over their heads almost. Some of them do.
Yeah. And some have like napkins over their heads too. They look kind of like they like came up under a tablecloth or something like that.
This is a situation where I don't get what they're doing with these models, but I like it.
I think they do kind of like bobbleheady because of the size of the cages and so on their heads. I'm actually not super into them. I bet I will be once I see them in person or see some 360s though.
Yeah, I think they look really cool. I like how almost all of them, except the Juve-esque characters, are only armed with chain axes.
and chainsaws on ropes.
like okay, you're just not going to do guns in this gang. But it's bold strategy, Cotton.
But there's like 15 of them in there.
Yes.
And I think those are Juves, which, all right, I'm thinking that the next round of Necromunda releases, based on that and based on what the enforcers in this box have, is going to be like add-on kits.
Oh, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Because I'm betting, like, we already have like the sprue of like 5 gangers for every gang, and you get 2 of those in a box. And I'm betting this next thing is going to be like a Juve and weapon accessory thing. Ooh. Because the second half of the box is Pal Knight Enforcers, and it's the models we've seen before, but half of them have riot shields.
Yes,
and those are dope as hell.
11 in that picture that they've shown. There's 11 Pal Knight Enforcers, and there's 15 corpse grinders.
Right. So I have this gut feeling that hope anyway, that there's going to be some sort of expansions, because I remember years ago when the game launched, they're like, yeah, we're going to be doing, more variety for some of the gangs and Juves and so on, but it's going to be down the line. It's probably going to be like one-off resin models or whatever. So if this is where it goes, I'd be very excited. And I think that is how you keep people interested in their gang and invested in their gang, is being able to actually add things to the gang later, because that's what's been the problem with these games, is like you buy, a dozen dudes and you're like, oh, my gang's done. But if they start releasing like new weapon options, new characters, Juves, etc., like special champion models or whatever, that's going to get people back into it, because that's what's going to get me to buy more Goliaths, is if there's Juves in the kit.
Right. Yeah. And I think that the enforcers look fantastic. The original kit does. And now these extra shield and grenade launchers, the subjugators, they're called, like they look fantastic also. They look a little bit beefier too, because I think they're supposed to have bigger armor. And the chain gang, the chain axe gang, like, oh buddy, okay. Necromunda models, like all of them so far, have been pretty much excellent.
Yeah.
There's a couple of the Forge World resin ones that ain't so great, but we're talking about the plastics for the most part.
And even then, the vast minority are not good. Like, most of them are excellent.
Yeah, I just wish that, like, some of the really cool stuff had good rules. Like the
Are
Dome
you telling
Runner.
me Arrow Slag Mist isn't worth it? Are you telling me this?
The Dome Runner is one of the coolest models they do, and her rules are just garbage.
Yeah, you basically just get that.
But anyways,
yeah.
So the thing that has got me the most excited about this, plastic modular Zone Mortalis terrain with multiple levels.
See, I feel like I've seen this coming for a while because of how many MDF makers there are of Zone Mortalis terrain, and because also there was the recent discontinuation of the resin Zone Mortalis tiles. I'm like, okay, there's plastic something coming out. Dude, there's gotta be.
Dude, this is so cool. They've shown us like one picture of this setup so far, and I have just poured over this picture, like zooming in on it and just being a complete fucking creeper and counting all the pixels and doing all this shit. Because like I want this shit so bad. I don't want to fucking paint it, but I want to play on it.
I bet it can get pretty far with just like lead belcher spray and an oil wash or something like that. I bet it can do pretty quick to get through it.
Yeah. So this box, I mean, shit, dude. If it's $290, I'm gonna fucking buy it.
I'll make it work. I'm
gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking do it. All right. And also, we mentioned earlier the Book of Ruin, which is gonna be more rules, because that's what Necromunda needs. The game needs more rules. Oh wow, we just did a 3-part series on Goonhammer about campaign progression in Necromunda, and the second article was about the trading post, and I didn't get a chance to contribute too much to it because I was like out of town and doing a bunch of shit. And the work that Jules did on that, there's just so fucking much stuff, dude.
I can't keep track of any of it.
I am like, I feel like me doing this weekly series on Necromunda has like actually going to be very helpful for running a campaign, because I'm just going to know everything.
I think because you once a week think about the rules of Necromunda, you're in the top 5% of rules knowers for Necromunda.
I fucking might be. Well, that's not good. I'm in the top 5% of anything except body mass index. It's not good.
Oh, shush.
All right.
Shush, you beautiful lummox.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, Necromunda stuff coming out. Really, really excited about this stuff. I think, oh man, like if you're into enforcers, then it makes a lot of sense to split this box with somebody or just like buy the gang from somebody who buys a box. Yeah. If you're into chaos, like these guys are going to make great conversions for world eaters and berserkers cultists or whatever else. Like the conversion fodder is 100% there. And then also like the terrain, it would work in 40k also.
Mm-hmm. Zone Mortalis is a thing in 40k too.
So you've got a lot of utility in this one box. So I'm very excited to, not be able to pay my mortgage because I bought too many plastic men.
So the last thing on Zone Mortalis, my last note here is in the video, it pans over a bunch, like the video reveal of this box set, it reveals a bunch of shots of like dudes standing on the ground.
Yeah.
And the tiles they're standing on look noticeably different than the old Zone Mortalis tiles in resin.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they're plastic Zone Mortalis tiles coming on down the pipe.
Yeah, it might be. It doesn't look like the cardboard. And it doesn't look like the resin.
So it's got those like recessed rivets that a lot of the terrain has.
Okay. And all right, so let's move on to Apocalypse. Apocalypse, they did a FAQ and updated data sheets, and I didn't read any of them because, it's Apocalypse, man. I'll read it next time I have a game of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to ballpark that for us, please feel free to do so. Apocalypse is a lot of fun. I'm not trashing Apocalypse, just, not a priority right now. And then finally, they did another Battle Sister bulletin, and they showed us all the cherubs that are going to come along.
I love cherubs. I love these like tiny floating old baby men.
They're so creepy.
I know, they rule.
Okay.
Because it's either like 100-year-old man on a baby's body or just as a skull for a face. And there the twain shall meet. And I love them so much. I have actually been like, every time anyone in my gaming group is like building models, they're like, I don't want this fucking gross, creepy baby thing. And they throw it away. And I'm like, I'll take it. I'll fish that out of the garbage.
Give me the babies.
I have little baby stabums from the old librarian kit where it's just got like a little dagger and a shield and skull face. I'm like, hell yeah. I've got like some of the Minotaurum ones that are dragging a Melta cartridge.
Yeah.
I have no plans for them. I just have them. I need to amass these gross, creepy flying babies.
Dude, they're so creepy.
I love them. They're so 40k.
It's like a baby with 40K. A skull for a head carrying a Melta bomb. Oh, it's the most 40k thing possible.
It's insanely 40k, but it's okay
though in real world. What if people? Oh, okay. How? Like, what? Where are these babies coming from? Are they?
All right. They are vat grown. That is written in the lore. They are like vat grown from just quote unquote biological materials. So I guess this is what stem cell research gets you guys. But that's just what they are in the fluff, because I think it'd be a little bit too horrific if it's like babies are ripped from the arms of their parents and turned into flying like wait staff, I guess.
Flying pipe organ cleaners.
I think that's how like the Imperium gets around child labor laws.
Okay. Infant labor. It's not child labor, it's infant labor.
It's flying old man baby labor.
You don't have rules for that. You only have rules for child labor.
Check that, government regulations.
Checkmate, atheists. Okay. All right, that's it for the Auspex. Man, that was a long one.
That was a very long one.
Well, we're diverging like crazy. Digressing and diverging. Like that movies? They were movies. Whatever, doesn't matter.
They have books too.
Let's move on to We Make the Call. All right, a couple of notes before we start making calls. Doug T. He chimed in with one of the all-time emails the other day to the 40k Badcast email, which is, of course, contact at 40kbadcast.com. And it had everything. It checked all the boxes, Crumbo. It had models. It had listener engagement. And it had pictures of his beautiful dog, Zara.
Yes, which is really the thing that matters most.
So, Doug T., you're doing it right. Everybody else, pick up your fucking game.
Yeah, he did make a cool suggestion for like pipe cleaners for damage markers for Aeronautica, and include some pictures where it looks like they have flaming streaks coming off them, and it's extremely cool.
Yeah, he's killing the game over here, all right? And he's doing it right. Everybody else needs to like look in the mirror and think, am I Doug T today? And if they're not, because you're probably not, like, fuck, do better.
You're just thinking, maybe I should get a dog and take pictures of it and send it to some strangers on the internet. Yeah, that's going to do it.
All right, another interesting note here. Alex M sent us an email with a PDF attached that had his note, the body of his email in it. And I think that's a very bold take on email.
As someone who works in information security, I was very hesitant to even open that email.
I opened it with the PDF preview option. I did not download it.
There you go.
Because I am not, well, I'm not smart, but I ain't that dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And I that's gonna bite me in the ass tonight later. I just fucking know it is. All right. So Alex M, thank you very much for that weird email. You said nice words to us in that email, that PDF, but maybe just an email next time. Okay. Let's get it. This one, it's from Justin Atwell via email. I'm a bit necro-curious, and I would also like to get into Necromunda.
Ooh.
I have recently stumbled upon a buy one, get one free of the original starter box and was wondering if that would be a good start to a Goliath gang. What should my next step be? There are so many books out for it, and I just saw a new box set teased for this month, which I'm planning to pick up. Is the rulebook in the OG starter box even viable now? Help me, 40k Badcast. You are my only hope. Well, Justin.
Okay.
This is actually a pretty simple one. So this one is I feel like this one is more of a PSA than it is like a time for us to have opinions. But it's simple. If you can get the box set of the Necromunda game, especially at a BOGO, like do it, because you get the ZM tiles, the cardboard ZM tiles, and you can play full games of Necromunda on those tiles. And you do not need terrain. You do not need all you need is those, and then like the obstacles and stuff that come in that box.
Yeah,
and then you get
and the counters too. Yeah.
2 whole games.
The thing is, even if you don't, all right, like 20 Goliaths is more than enough for a good start for a Goliath gang. That's like enough for a Goliath party, I guess.
Goliath horde.
Like, yeah, exactly. A Goliath wog. And that rules, like that's all you'll really need. You just get some of the forge rolled weapon bits and you're good. You're set. Yeah. Like you'll be good for that gang for life. But yeah,
you don't need 2 of those boxes. Honestly, you don't.
No,
like,
you don't. You don't.
Just get one. And you'll be happy with that. Now, the rule book inside of that is invalidated. It is old.
Correct. Correct.
What you need to do is you need to pick up the Necromunda rule book, which is a thing that they sell on its own. That and Gangs of the Underhive is really all you need to play. There are 2 more books, the Book of Peril and the Book of Judgment, and those will expand the game. The Book of Judgment, like exceptionally so. But you don't need them to play. You just need the rules and Gangs of the Underhive. So
correct.
So if you get that box, Justin, and you get those 2 books, you have everything you need to play Necromunda.
Yeah, and if someone is Necromunda curious and let's say they're not into the gangs in that set, but they have the chance to get it, I might pass. And if you want the other one more, like it really is down to, do you want this gang or not at this point? Because again, you're going to talk, a lot of the stuff in that box is not going to be useful to a new player. Yeah, in the new edition, like the tiles still, but everything else.
With your Goliaths, just don't build stub cannons; they're terrible.
Yeah, for their basic weapon is really not worth it. I did the Goonhammer article on Necromunda for Goliaths, and you can check that out if you want some actually okay advice on Goliaths.
I'd say it's good advice.
It helps that most of what they do is run towards things and hit them really hard.
Not a hard gang to play.
No, which is why they're perfect for me.
All right, well, that's it for We Make the Call, and let's move on to our one and only segment this episode, and it is the first time in a while we're doing this, but it's 40k Book Club, and this time we read Rites of Passage by Mike Brooks.
Correct. And did you also do the audiobook version of it?
So I did both, actually. I'm an Audible subscriber, and I had 7 credits built up, and so I had bought the Kindle version, and I was reading that. But then I was like, oh wait, I have a couple of long drives coming up because I had to go to Pennsylvania and back. I can knock out a bunch of this with the audiobook too, and then I can also read it at night or whatever. And so I got both. As the credits on Audible, you just get them for a month, and I'm always way behind, and I'll always have surplus credit. So I was just like, fuck it, I'll do it. And I did. And the audiobook is good, and the ebook is also good.
Yeah. So this was read by Helen Keeley, And I think I think overall, like, she did a wonderful job with multiple character voices, with just narration. Like, she's a very pleasant voice to listen to.
I agree.
So I can recommend the audiobook version.
I can recommend both audiobook and ebook version. The ebook version is readable. And that's really all that you need. I've downloaded some ebooks that have not been readable before. So, like, no joke. That's a thing. Okay. So 40k Book Club, Rites of Passage, Mike Brooks, Campbell. What's this one about?
So this is a story about navigator houses, specifically Chetamande of the House Brabantis.
Yes.
And it is basically the story
Cheta. You can just say Cheta.
Yes, I know. I actually had to look up, like, I'm like, did they ever call her by her full name? I think they do, like, the first time.
The because other navigators call her Chetamande or Mande.
Chetamande, yeah.
But she calls herself Cheta, and, like, her friends call her Cheta.
Correct. I just know this.
Give me that Cheta.
Give me that Cheta.
You were
gonna. One of us is gonna say it. One of us is gonna say it.
Give me that
I just remember this because my first note for this entire book is just Chetamande is so fucking haughty. I don't mean that in an insulting way. That's just who she is. So this is about the navigator houses, which are like houses of nobles, and a bit of like there's like this politic between these houses of nobles, and all of a sudden this planet just up and disappears.
So before you continue. Navigators are mutants, are specifically genetically engineered and sanctioned mutants, and their primary mutation is they have a third eye in the center of their forehead called the warp eye. And when they open their warp eye, they can literally see the warp. So they are used in faster than light travel when a ship will go into the warp and fly around and then come out of the warp closer to their destination than hopefully closer to their destination than they were before. And so the navigators are used specifically for that purpose of guiding ships through the warp. Now, please continue.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
No, that's totally okay. So it is the story of basically why did this planet disappear and why are people being murdered? And later we find out why specifically are navigators being murdered in Ascension City.
Right, which is on the planet Vorlisi, which is the planet that House Brabantis has their homestead on, their palace.
Correct. And so the rest of the story is basically a bouncing back and forth perspectives of Cheta and occasionally back to this guy, Radomir, who is the antagonist of the story. The baddie. All right, so let's get over who these people are.
Well, no, let's break down the plot a little bit more. So
okay.
So Cheta is on her ship, and she talks about her husband who she had murdered on Necromunda. Interestingly enough, a lot of Necromunda in this episode.
There's a lot of Necromunda in this episode and this book.
She got him killed by a Goliath pit fighter, and then she killed the Goliath pit fighter. There's like navigators. If they open their warp eye and somebody who's not a navigator looks into it, it blasts away their sanity and they die.
Yeah, you usually not quite instantly, but very quickly and very painfully.
Right. So she has just coming back from her husband's death, which she's like faking being sad about, and they're going through the warp to a place called Galino or Galamo, one of the two. And
Galamir Prime.
Galamir. Yeah. There we go. And her navigator, one of her other family members who's a navigator dies, and like it's very crazy warp travel. So so she goes in and she sees that the navigator is dead, and they drop out of the warp, and Galamir Prime is gone. And they decide that what happened was the giant warp entities who were feasting on Galamir Prime as it was drawn wholly into the warp are what caused the navigator on duty to die with their passing. Because it was so tumultuous and turbulent. And I got to say, this is one hell of a way to start off a book.
Yeah.
An entire planet of billions of people has been extinguished or destroyed, completely destroyed, swallowed into hell. And it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, but again, it's like a planet you've never heard of because it is the Imperium. It's millions of planets. But it does start it off with it starts it off with a bang. So
Cheta and crew are like, oh, fuck, we got to get out of here. So they go to Vorlisi, where her home is, and they pop back into Ascension City. And then, they have to just deal with being nobility. right? Like Chetta has to deal with like her husband's funeral and all these dickhead noble people, and just like
there's a lot of that in this book.
Yeah, and it's a lot of chapters that are heavy on the dialogue. In the meantime, bad guy Radomir is going around collecting chaos cultists on Ascension City on Vorlisi for nefarious purposes,
as well as collecting the eyeballs of navigators, and you get to see kind of the detective story unfold as Chetta balances like detective work, or rather making her people do detective work largely, and navigating the social spheres of nobles. And like, this is probably the book with the most, like, for lack of a better term, parties. Like, there's more social gatherings in this book than I'm used to in any other 40k book, and it's very like, for these people, like, this is, they're nobles. Like, these are just big opulent gatherings, each more opulent than the last, where they're just getting together and feigning emotions and feigning experiences while just posturing at each other. There's a lot of like nobles posturing at each other in this book.
Yes. Then there is, they end up at a party with the governor at the governor's mansion, and there's an assassination attempt.
Yes.
And Chetta's brother-in-law dies, but it's there's a lot of characters in this book.
Yeah,
there are too many characters in this book, and
yes,
I'll get to my criticisms of the book really in the final thoughts part of this, but so we'll continue on with the story. So Chetta and her crew get attacked, and she comes to realize that one of these people that she knows, who's a rogue trader, is actually an inquisitor. Because that never happens.
Nope.
And whoops. So I gotta say, I was listening to this part of the book in the car, right? And there's a really big tractor trailer fire on Route 78 in Pennsylvania as I was passing through, as I was like in the governor's mansion party. And the traffic was really bad going in the other direction, and there's this tractor trailer just on fire. And I was like, ha, cool. So, but I will say, I totally was like, okay, this person, Vass, Rogue Trader Vass, it's like, she's an Inquisitor. I know she's an Inquisitor. She has to be. And then a chapter later, it was like, and she pulls out her holographic rosette, her symbol of office, and she's an Inquisitor. And I was like, okay, cool. I knew it. So,
and then,
So, like, again, in between all this, Radomir is doing stuff. He's murdering people. He has this ability to walk through shadows where he can go into one pool of darkness and come out of another pool of darkness nearby. And then he just like murders a bunch of people, stabs them to death. He cuts out a bunch of navigators' warp eyes, cuts them right out their foreheads. It's
right. He is collecting them for some purpose that you later find out.
I got to ask you, you get kind of squeamish about stuff. How did these scenes of Radomir murdering people sit with you?
I will be honest. The action in this book, because this isn't your typical Bolterborn book, all the action in this book generally serves a narrative purpose. And the scenes where he's hunting people, especially one where Chetta's aide and the security chief are like running from him, are written kind of like they're in a horror book.
Yeah,
like it's either written like he's either written like a slasher villain or like a true crime sort of like mass killer. And I think that's a very interesting take to have on like in the 40k setting. Like, that's not usual. I will say those bits and a lot of the action scenes are written in a much more personal way that did make it a little harder to listen to.
Closer. Like, it's a closer, more intimate action.
Well, I will say, like, right at the end of the book when Chetta and him are fighting, and it's just this like rolling, like awkward, just very lengthy, difficult, strenuous fight. It kind of reminded me of the fight from They Live. Like, it's just like, oh, this looks like it hurts. This sounds like it hurts.
Of all time.
Greatest fight scene of all time. And it was like, well, there's actually in a scene where Deshelle, the aide, she mentions other mass killers and their trophy taking being consistent with his trophy taking. My thought was, oh, she listens to true crime podcasts, doesn't she?
So, well, like, okay. There's more foreshadowing with Deshelle, who is Chetta's aide, and she keeps like recalling back to her quote unquote training, and talks about this stuff. And I'm sitting there being like, okay, we don't know anything about this character's backstory because we haven't heard anything yet, but she keeps referencing her training. And I'm like, she's an Imperial agent who's a mole. Like, she has to be. Because this doesn't make any sense if she's not. And it turns out she is. And she was placed decades earlier by Inquisitor, whatever.
Nigiri.
Ngiri, yeah. Inquisitor Ngiri.
My favorite kind of sushi.
And, like, I was just like, this was a moment of the book where I was like, okay, cool. But here's the thing. They played that for like an emotional punch, like a gut punch. I think it was at least supposed to be, but I was just like, okay, she's a mole. Don't really care. But it was like, Cheetah was like, I'm so mad at you. And Deshelle was like, I'm sorry, but I also have a job to do, but I'm sorry. And it just didn't work for me.
Okay. Cause I will say it seemed a little odd that Cheetah trusted anybody.
Yeah, right.
Because she generally doesn't trust anybody. She learns to trust some characters over the book, like Tekua, who I think is kind of adorable.
Yeah.
And she already trusted her, but she like never trusted the Inquisitor. And there's like bits from inside her perspective where she's like, she had leverage in the Inquisitor because she knew something the Inquisitor didn't.
Honestly, the Inquisitor was like the most straight up person, except for like putting a mole on her staff. But like everything the Inquisitor does in the book, except for that, is like very open, very honest, and like, hey, we need to save this planet because, you know, they figured out that the planet was drawn into the warp by a chaos ritual, right? And so they're like, oh, wait, this chaos ritual could happen on this planet too. We've got to fucking stop this shit. And the Inquisitor is, at that point, once she is like, hey, I'm an Inquisitor, from then on, it's basically like they're working together and they're being open and honest with each other and helping each other out. And even though Cheetah is sometimes being kind of a shit about it.
Oh, Cheetah is a shit to everybody all the time, and that's kind of why I really enjoyed hearing her, because like again, my first note is that you are so fucking haughty, and that is because she is petty, she is haughty. And she refers to other people as proles on the regular. Yeah. Like she is the absolute like 1%er, like evil. Like I will say not as evil as the actual like villain of the book, but like she is not a good person.
No.
She's a very interesting character, but she's not a good person. And I like that like shades of gray sort of thing, like that is established right from the beginning of the book, where again she has her husband murdered for political gain.
Yeah, so it happens like they figured out it's a ritual. Radomir goes around killing people. A couple of characters who I personally didn't have any emotional attachment to died.
Crane, no.
And then like they have to join forces. Well, no, sorry. Cheetah starts a war basically with a different navigator house by going back on a marriage pact. And for all I can figure out, she did it out of spite.
Well, this is after someone showed up to their rival's funeral to announce their child's marriage just to flex on them.
But it was already agreed to. Like it was already signed off on. And yeah, the dude was being a dick, but like Cheetah basically is like, oh, you're going to be a dick at my husband's funeral? Who she had killed, mind you.
Yeah.
You're going to be a dick at my husband's funeral? Oh, well, I'm going to break off this marriage pact. And then Sen Uru Dakar is this guy's name. He's like, oh, well, fuck you. Now we're in a trade war. And Cheetah's like, all right, fine. We're in a trade war. And then, like later in the book, Sen Uru Dakar's son gets killed by Radomir, I think. Radomir. And he freaks out and is like very emotional and is like, he assumes that Cheetah House Brabantis did it, and so he starts attacking them, right? And like, okay, it's nobody's making good decisions right now, whatever. And so she like calls him up on the phone, on the super telephone, because they have a super telephone. Calls him up on the super-
There's a special Skype chat just for navigator houses.
She picks up the bat phone and she calls up Sen Uru Dakar and it's like, look, yo, I'm gonna come over. Let's fucking work this out. Call off your dudes. And Sen Uru Dakar is like, I'm very mad at you, but I will allow you to come over so we can talk peace. Which I was like, all right, dude, I understand you're mad. I understand you're upset, but you're still letting this happen. That's fucking cool. Good for you, guy. And so Cheetah gets in her plane, or I guess gets in the Inquisitor's plane, and she's got some allies with her. But then there's some like shady other navigators who are supposed to be on her team. But guess what? Guess what? Guess what? This is also foreshadowed because in the entire book, she is completely dumpstering these two Josine family.
Yeah. I think that's it.
She's dumpstering these two like the entire time, and then it's her. They're traitors, and they try to shoot her out of the sky. Oh well, they do shoot her out of the sky. Her and the inquisitorial retinue, they get fired out of the sky, and they crash, right next.
They crash right next to Radamir's ritual site. I thought that was fairly contrived. Like, I get they were actually they weren't tracking him at the time. No, they were trying to get back to Senuru to kind of be like, let's talk peace.
I did think that was fairly contrived. That he was about to do his. He needed 8 Navigator warp eyes to do this ritual to draw Vorlisi into the warp, and he got all 8, and he's doing the fucking ritual, and then they just happen to crash land next to the ritual.
Well, that's where the 8th eye is. The 8th eye just got delivered to him.
Oh, that's right. Okay, they had 7. Ship, They had 7 out of 8. Yeah, and then some old dude in a hover chair got murked and his eye stolen, and that was the 8th eye. And it's like, oh, okay, this is a lot of coincidence, Mike.
Yeah, I think the end of the book felt very like it had that that coincidence, and then a bunch of action that I liked that it was only it seems like it was only a dozen people per side. Like, it was not a big battle, but it was still written with a lot of stakes and a lot of people dying left and right.
So that's a good point. The last bit of action there, the final battle between Radamir's forces and Chetta's forces, it's written well. It goes quickly. It's very fast paced and hectic. And you're from Chetta's point of view for the most part, and she's basically a non-combatant.
Right, because this is the first Warhammer story really I've read where the main character was essentially handicapped, because she has to walk with a cane. She's 80 years old.
Older and disabled,
when she picks up a gun, she's described as shooting 2 feet to the left shoulder and then 3 feet to the right shoulder. She does not know how to fight, and I think that's really interesting, because this is if you like domestic 40k, what is a lot of it explored in the Eisenhorn books. This is a really cool look into what life is like for at least, actually, you get to see the very top and the very bottom of society, essentially.
Right, and we'll come back to final thoughts for that. But so they're fighting Radamir and his crew. Chetta ends up killing Radamir with her warp eye, blasting his mind away. But the ritual at this point has got its own momentum.
Right. It's doing the thing that every superhero movie does, where there's a giant portal, giant beam, giant pillar of light going into the sky, like in Suicide Squad or Men of Steel or Avengers. And they have to go through the invisible wall maze from gym in Pokemon Blue to turn it off. And I did not like that bit. I thought that was very tropey.
This book is fucking Suicide Squad.
No, because I enjoyed 2/3 of it.
Well, okay. Yeah, it was more enjoyable than Suicide Squad, but what do they do at the end? They take the fire magic person, and the fire magic person has to kill the MacGuffin so the ritual stops.
Correct.
And it's a ragtag bunch of losers and shady people led by the shadiest of shady, but actual authoritarian inquisitor instead of Rick Flag. And they have to go through a bunch of nameless, faceless yahoos to get to the final thing, and they have to turn one of the enemies to their side, and then they have to do the fire magic to kill the thing so the ritual doesn't happen, the planet isn't destroyed. It's fucking Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's just missing the extremely obvious musical cues.
Oh my God, I may have talked myself out of liking this book.
Oh no.
Oh, well, okay, that's not true. The book was enjoyable, and it was whatever. But that's pretty much the story. Then they wrap it up, and it's I feel like he left room for a sequel.
I think he left room for a sequel, basically the Fire Witch, because she helps Chetta finally end the thing.
She stares into the warp at one point. The Fire Witch does, and she realizes how terrible everything is, and she at the end is now a redemptionist.
She's the Punisher now,
pretty much.
Yeah, you're right. She's a redemptionist now, because she's give me your list of chaos contact. Hey, you librarian, give me the list of chaos contacts. I'm going to set them all on fire.
Yeah.
And she's now off to be the flaming magic Punisher, hunted by the law, but also murdering the baddies.
Okay, so that's the story. That's
the story. Okay, and I would say the story is the weakest part of this book. I think the overall story is like, I don't super care about like a trade war between two houses I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I don't super care about this like magical portal MacGuffin sort of thing. What I do care about is the characters. I enjoyed the main characters, basically Radomir and Cheta. Everyone else is kind of secondary.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the way a lot of these things are written, because I think Mike Brooks does a very good job of exploring the highs and lows of society.
He does.
Like, I love, like you basically start with like Cheta, like flying around in her cool spaceship, going to expensive parties where everyone's wearing a more opulent dress than the person behind them. Where they have like their feast is a 14-course meal with 3 musical interludes in between. And you're like, wow, this is what the 1% in space are like. And then Radomir is in like a spider bar. You have to like crawl under ladders underneath a building to get into. Yep. And like it's so grimy. There's like graffiti, there's wanted posters, there's a Citizens of the Imperium must wash hands sign. Like there's another scene where he goes to a bar called the Star Lounge, which I'm pretty sure I went to when I was in Philadelphia. And like, it's just like, it's like an opium den, and there's just like everyone drinking, like everyone knows your name, but like you're not supposed to know, like this is supposed to be kind of like a speakeasy like sort of thing. Bar. Yeah, and it refers to something called Joy Girls and Thrill Boys, which I think is a great name for a post-punk band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you figure out that Radomir's been hunting Navigator specifically. And like, I really like how these scenes and these spaces are written.
Yeah, he
like,
does. He does an extremely good job of crafting a setting. So we've talked about another writer on our show, Guy Haley. Mm-hmm. Guy Haley, he does a very detailed job of creating a setting, if you know what I mean. But I wouldn't say he does a good job of creating a setting. Okay. Guy Haley will throw details and facts and nouns at you, and you're just like, okay. And then you're listening to this audiobook and you realize it's a 10-minute description of a fucking spaceship hangar. And like whatever. But Mike Brooks does an extremely good job of giving you how a place feels. Not just what it looks like, but how it feels to be there. And I was quite impressed by that. And you're right. The story is Suicide Squad, and the redeeming qualities of the book come into characters, them interacting with one another, and the setting and the way he writes.
Well, I would say it's not just an authentic way on how the spaces feel, but how the people feel. Or I can't really speak for Radomir because he's just kind of like, he's like, be the Russian Guyovich, assassin me. And he's like, he's cool, but there's not really that much to him. He just kind of does this because he's a chaos guy, and that's what chaos guys do.
Yeah, his motivation is not properly explored. It seems like his motivation is, I like killing people, and I know a way to kill the most people possible.
Oh my God. There's like a line where he like, when he meets the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, essentially, and someone's like, I've killed people. Have you killed people? And he's like, yeah, 14 billion.
You just got served.
Like, I laughed when I heard that because I'm like, okay, that's funny. Like, there's definitely a few lines in here that I'm like, oh, that's a one-liner. But everything written from Cheta's perspective, like, I can see it very much coming from a place of knowledge and experience about chronic pain and being disabled, because like it all the time is talking about how like her hip is giving out, or she's like reaching the reserves of her strength, how she's having to rely on this cane, how she's living with pain constantly. And there's like even a line where she says, my body and I are not in speaking terms right now. And like, as someone who has chronic pain and who knows people with like arthritis and with their own chronic pain situations and other disabled people, like I think that is very much written from a very sympathetic and realistic perspective. And that was something I found really relatable. I could see someone who isn't used to these things finding it kind of tiring potentially, but as someone who has lived this and in a large way lives this every day, I found that to be like very validating and also very interesting in this kind of story.
I kind of like that about Cheta because it was like kind of played into her cranky old lady. Persona. But it also like made her seem tougher because she was overcoming it. Mm-hmm. You know,
like there's a line. It's a fucking special rule for the Eisenhorn model in like Kill Team or something like that. But it's called No Stranger to Pain. and it is a feel no pain. It comes down to a feel no pain save essentially, but I really like that line and being able to apply that to characters like Cheetah, which I really do like.
Well, let's talk about the other characters a little bit. As far as I'm concerned in this book, there are really only 3 characters.
I would say really, yeah, there's 3 characters with the agency, and then kind of like they have like their little crews who follow them around.
Yeah. The Rogues Gallery.
Like, yes, the Rogue Traders Gallery, if you will. A tut.
So there's the good Rogues Gallery, I guess the Rogue Traders Gallery, and then the Rogue Killers or whatever.
The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Mutants. So there's really only 3 characters. There's Cheetah. There's what's his name? Radomir. Thank you. Radomir. And then and some people are going to say Deshelle because she gets a POV, but I don't think she counts. I think Inquisitor Ngiri is the 3rd character
because she's a tool of Inquisitor Ngiri.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of extraneous stuff happening in this book, but if you focus on these 3 characters, like the go-between between Cheetah and Inquisitor Ngiri is actually, I think, very good. Probably the best part of the whole book.
I really like their interactions, and there's even lines like Eldari minds play regicide over millennia while we bet on coin flips. Like there's like a lot of like this posturing back and forth of them being like
chess.
Like I'm more important. No, I'm more important, and I find that really entertaining and very interesting to hear about.
Well,
it's like
we got to see both of those characters really at their best and worst in the book.
Yeah,
because Inquisitor Ngiri is like, all right, I've figured out all this shit. I'm super smart. I've also got power armor and a bunch of people, and we can kick a whole lot of ass. And then at the final fight, she kind of gets her ass kicked.
Oh, she absolutely does. And Cheetah, who can't really fight very well, is basically the only person left standing, and only barely at the end of that fight.
Right, but she uses her navigator ability to literally see the warp to guide
navigate
this rogue psyker, Evelyn Dark, which is a
dumb name,
fucking wrestling name.
Yeah, no, does she know Joanna Dark?
She uses this rogue psyker, Evelyn Dark, who probably has some sick ass entrance music, and like she basically tells her like where to walk so she doesn't like get hit by demon arms and shit, because she can see the warp and Evelyn can't, and so it like I kind of liked the idea that Cheetah, while she couldn't really fight and couldn't really change stuff on her own, she was, and get this, navigating the story to its conclusion.
I mean, there's even that line where they're like, which way do we go? And she goes, I navigate. I will go there. And it's just like, we go north. I know what north is. Like, I like the like lowercase n navigating she gets to do at that point too. That whole like battle at the end, like I liked it. I like how the action was written there, but there's this big mutant character. Like they're not really characters, just a big mutant, just a big dude.
Oh yeah, he goes down. He goes down so quick, so easy.
Yeah, well, after fucking up like a bunch of people, but the narrator's voice for them, I definitely thought Sloth Love Chunk.
Oh, I read that part of the book.
Oh, okay. The narrator is full on going
now.
Sloth voice.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because the giant mutant guy speaks, and
he just goes Sloth Love Chunk. Except it's because he gets mad because his brother got killed by guys.
Well, I mean, Radomir killed like 2 of his brothers by forcing them to go into the wasteland where the smog is poison, and he wasn't pissed about that.
But that same scene though, like one dude who like has been kind of alluded to, he's like, oh, he's getting kind of bloated. There's boils on his skin. Like it's kind of like seeded throughout. He gets possessed by a plague bearer, and that is horrific. Like he like vomits a cloud of flies that chew through the Crusader's armor and like blow up his skull and all that stuff. And it like drives home how horrifying and tough a demon should be.
I actually really like that scene when the Crusader dies, because Cheetah's describing it and she's like, it should have been impossible that this monster just vomited a bunch of flies into this guy's face. And then it should have been impossible that the flies ate through his armor. And it should have been impossible that the flies ate through his face and his skull. And it should be impossible this guy is dead. But it's possible, and it just happened.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. We both like the characters. We both like the interactions and the way it's written. But not everybody likes this book, Campbell. And we alluded to it last episode, but let's get specific. Why do people out there on the internet hate this book without having read it?
Well, on page 2, Chetta turns towards the camera and says, "Suck it up, meninists, #feminism, #girl boss." And that, no, like the outrage, the quote unquote outrage around this book is so overblown. Like the bad faith brigading that's happened, like the Goodreads rating for this book is like a 2. And it's just like a bunch of 1-star reviews from people saying like, "I don't like the political agenda," people who haven't read this book, because like, the first gay character, Tekua, who just like, it says like, "Oh, I can have this job. Can I bring my husband?" Okay. He mentions he has a husband who was never seen like 3 times in the book.
I thought it was only twice. It was like one where
might only be twice,
where Chetta
actually.
mentions his husband by basically saying like, "Yeah, we thought we're pretty sure this guy's going to get killed if he stays in his house. So we moved him into our compound and we brought his husband with him." And then later in the book, he's like, or at the end of the book, she's like, "Well, go tell your husband because you just got a promotion." And like, that's it.
Yeah. Also, I really like Tekua. I think he is like adorable and one of the most wholesome characters I've ever read in a Warhammer book. He's just a guy who's he's just happy to do his job. He likes doing paperwork, and it's great. But let's get all right. So back to why people are mad, or shitty people are mad. So okay, there's a gay character, a minor gay character exists in this book. Just exists in this book and helps with the investigation. And there is a Skitarii character, which, again, like, how fragile do you have to be to get to the 2/3 mark of this book when a Skitarii character is introduced and referred to as they instead of he or her?
Yep. Non-binary pronouns on a person whose
on a cyborg
identity has probably stopped being human.
You're right. And I would have missed that completely if it hadn't gotten shitty people riled up, because I wouldn't think to like, why would a tertiary cyborg character's gender matter to the reader or listener?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine getting like 6.5 hours into this and like throwing your headphones down in rage when you get to that part? No, you can't, because that's not what a human being does. Like, this is like, all right, so we got those 2 bits. And the last part I have here is, though, this is the book from the perspective of a powerful, physically handicapped Black woman who has agency. And there are a number of women as actual like characters in the book.
Most of the like, out of the 3 main characters, two of them are
2 out of 3
women. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, this is hardly the first time we've seen like a competent like woman inquisitor. Like, that's a central character in the Caiaphas Cain books.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the first gay character we've seen in a Warhammer book. Like, there's a few, I think, 1,000 Suns. I think two of the remembrancers are a couple, and they're like same gender. And like, as for non-binary characters, like there's fucking cyborgs and Skitarii and people like that all over the place. Like, I think honestly, the only reason why these things conflated to become something that got some people mad is because like 1 or 2 really shitty people in the community who happen to have something resembling a following got people to start brigading and like got people to start, mass downvoting and so on.
Bonus, we make the call time. Are you ready?
I am more than ready.
Bonus. This is from Andre Chertov via email, and he talks to us all the time. I love this guy. He says, so maybe it's a topic for Make the Call, which, we're doing a bonus ep for that now. But what's fucking wrong with people? How is it possible to be distracted by pronouns, and how hard is it to just call people by what they ask to be called? That might be a little beyond the scope of the segment, but why does the hobby draw in these mouth-breathing incels in seemingly higher numbers than general population?
I don't think it draws them in seemingly higher numbers. I just think they feel more empowered because there aren't more people who aren't like straight white dudes to tell them to shut the fuck up.
Right. And
I think that's really
so maybe we should tell them to shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. And after shutting the fuck up, grow up.
Thank you.
Because like, there's people who aren't you in the world, and that's what makes the world great.
Thank you. Well said. All right, let's move on to final thoughts here, because I've got some.
All right.
Okay, so I liked this book. I thought it was fun. I thought it was engaging. And quite frankly, I found it hard to put down.
Agreed.
Now, I also have discovered that while reading and listening to the same book at pretty much the same time, I remember so much more shit from reading than I do from listening. Like, I reading stuff is way better for my brain. Now, that's of course not everybody's brain, but I'm coming to realize that if I really want to get into a book, I need to get the physical or at least the digital copy of it, and fucking read it, not just listen to it.
Okay.
So
I get that.
That's interesting. That's something for me to file away. So this book kind of reads like a mystery.
Yeah, it's very much a detective story. I think at one point in my notes, I called it NCIS 40K.
But I don't think it's a successful mystery. Because
you know who did it.
Exactly. Because it's a mystery to the characters, the good guys, but the reader knows what the mystery is. And I think this is a missed opportunity to do something like a cool mystery. Like, okay, maybe you have a POV character of Radomir, but instead of him planning and talking and figuring stuff out, maybe instead it's just him murdering people. That's the only POV you get, is when he's attacking people and cutting out their warp eyes and all that stuff. And then you hear reports of his cronies, you know? Like from
I get that.
from the Inquisitor's team or from the local cops or something. And then it's, you know, as they piece together what is happening, then they figure it out. Like that to me would have been more engaging as far as a mystery goes. But I think it did not hit the mark with all of the, you know, readers knowing what exactly is happening, while the protagonists don't.
Yeah, there's that dramatic irony, which can often be very useful to get an emotional reaction out of the reader. But yeah, knowing what's happening does make it kind of not a mystery. It's kind of like I'm trying to think, like it feels very much like a screenplay in a lot of ways. Like how it's structured, like it's very much meant to be kind of like a movie, up to and including the aforementioned Suicide Squad laser beam ending.
Almost like some sort of superhero movie.
Yeah, there's a bit of that.
Okay.
And actually, what's going through my brain is it's like how you jump back between like Batman being like, oh, who's this clown guy? And Joker being like, I'm just a dog chasing cars. And you're kind of you're waiting for these two forces to meet. And that's kind of the big thing. The problem is like Radomir and Cheetah don't come together and kind of have like a battle of ideologies as well as a physical battle. They just kind of go, you're the stabby man, I'm going to cut your eye out. And they just start fighting. Yeah. Like you don't really get that sort of like opposing ideologies clashing in I don't want to say in a discussion. Like it is a physical clash. It is, you know, Imperial agents versus these like chaos actors, but it's not really like you're not getting any more insight into either of their belief systems over the course of that battle, which is what you would probably get out of a superhero movie, or at least a well-written superhero movie.
So I think there's a fix for this, and it's not make Radomir a POV character. It's make somebody in his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants a POV character. And so Radomir is this like shadowy murder killer motherfucker whose intentions and his motivations are just not known. And I think the action that builds around all that stuff is built up by him keeping his toadies in the dark. And then so you can still see what's happening on the bad guy side, but you don't know what's really behind it.
Yeah, because he is keeping his toadies in the dark in the book. Like that's what makes Evelyn Dark so mad at the end. She's like, this is what I was working for. I just wanted to be seen. I just wanted to be noticed. I just wanted to feel like I belonged to something. This isn't what I wanted.
I think Mike Brooks
I liked that part.
Well, actually. I know. I think he could have expanded on that. The whole disenfranchisement is pushing people towards chaos worship. Like it would have been
they're introduced that way.
It would have been a really cool take to be like, hey, so the Imperium is this incredibly authoritarian and shitty place to live, and here's how that affects these people, and have a more like personal spin on it, which he does somewhat. He explores it somewhat, but I think that he could have really taken it and ran with it there, and I think that is another missed opportunity.
I think that also suits his writing style and his perspectives really well. Because I think that is what he writes best, is like those aspects of society. And I will say like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants aren't really super fleshed out as characters, but like
the Brotherhood of Eagle Mutants, which is what I think you were about to say before you stopped yourself. Now that's a brotherhood that I want to be in.
That's a Tzeentch cult. But the thing is, they're introduced by like a librarian, essentially, like a guy who runs a library.
Yeah, not a librarian Space Marine, but a guy who works in a library. Yeah.
Lowercase L librarian archivist guy who just has an anti-authoritarian streak and wants to know more, which I think that is a really like interesting sort of thing. Like I'm not saying he's necessarily the character to want to spend a whole book with, but that is an interesting way to kind of get into this whole chaos cult sort of thing, because they are just disenfranchised people who are gathered just kind of because they're disenfranchised. Like they don't really have a huge direction before Radomir is like, hey guys, let's carve giant 8x8x8 pentagrams into the ground and make a demon appear.
Yeah. Then that's like Svet, the giant mutant guy. Like he's turned to chaos because he literally cannot go outside without somebody wanting to kill him. Evelyn Dark has these powers that she doesn't know what to do or how to control them, and she's hated and feared by everyone around her because of that. Like I think it would have been cool to explore that more. I think we're on the same page here. So another criticism I have with the whole Galamir Prime disappearing, that they should have started the book instead of with Cheta. They should have started the book with some fucking rando on Galamir Prime as it's being drawn into the warp. So you can get the full emotional impact and the full horror of what's happening. Because like when you show up and it's just like Cheta and she like wakes up because the ship's moving around and she like remembers, she's like, my body hurts. My husband's dead. But I fucking killed him. And like, it's okay, here's Cheta. Cool, whatever. But it's the way it starts is it just, if you come in with a prologue and the prologue is billions of people dying on the planet from the perspective of one person on the planet, like that gets you in it immediately. And for me, the first chapter of the book was kind of just like, okay, what's going on? Who is this? I had so many questions running through my head, and I don't know. I think again, like Mike Brooks did not build enough emotional capital in the disappearance of an entire planet to really get you worried about it.
Yeah, like, it's bad because it's a planet going away and a bunch of people dying, but you don't have any emotional connection to it. It's just an asteroid field.
Right, yeah.
Now, I have two things here. I have two kind of like almost little games I'd like to play with you. First off, I was taking notes as I was listening to this book, which was, is an audiobook. I was just like painting and I would just turn over and write a note. And I have two things. First of all, what is your favorite insult from this book? Is it warp damned Grox shit? Ignorant Grox-Fondler? Or warp damned demon loving pestilential cowardly sack of putrescent filth?
It's definitely ignorant Grox-Fondler.
Ignorant Grox-Fondler is really good. I really liked that one.
We could rename the podcast the Ignorant Grox-Fondler podcast. Yeah, that one was really good. Yeah.
And then, all right, like I mentioned earlier that like each person at these parties and the funeral and so on are introduced with progressively more outlandish and over the top like nobility wear. And I really did enjoy listening to the descriptions of their outfits. Yeah. But if you could, which of these accessories would you have? A power cane, a force field brooch, sword fans, bracelet knife, finger blades, digital lasers, or earring phone?
The answer is none of the above. I want that bird servitor that Inquisitor and Geary had.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
A floating bird servitor who holds your drink for you.
Yeah. What's not to like?
Oh yeah. I was into that. That was pretty awesome. Yeah. I loved
these characters can accessorize.
I loved his portrayal of Imperial nobility. Just so fucking out there. I thought it had like a fun Hunger Games vibe to it.
I'd say with like the fashion and just the gross wealth and everything. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was into that.
Absolutely.
That was a lot of fun. All right, so my final thoughts. I thought that this was a fun book. It was towing the line of good, but there were definitely some ways it could have been better, and it was not without fault. But overall, I think I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5 obvious inquisitorial rosettes.
I think I would give this probably similar, like a 3.5 out of 5 ignorant Grox-Fondlers. I really liked this book. I was taken out of it a bit by the end, but I am very interested in reading more from Mike Brooks.
So it's interesting you say that. I picked up the Underhive anthology from Games Workshop, and the first story is a story by Mike Brooks.
Oh, have you read it yet?
I'm like 10 pages in. So yes, I'm reading it, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Cool. Because we got a little novella of his in our Nova swag bags, I think. At least I did, with like an Escher ganger on the front of it.
Oh, yeah. I think that's in this book that I'm reading. I think that's the same story.
So I think I would be very into reading more of his stuff on that personal story level.
Yeah.
Like I'd be very into reading Necromunda books or Enforcer books or something of the sort. I feel like he probably wouldn't be suited for like a Space Marine battle book or even a Horus Heresy story. Just like that seems
because he's not
does
boring.
not seem. There are very good writers who write those books. I'll have you know. But yeah, like that's not his strong suit. I think his strong suit is the personal story, like the ground level, the really like gritty and in the bars, in the basement bars, in the backs of cars, that sort of story.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here is like, you know, maybe it's not the best story, but it's a good journey.
Yeah, and it's not the best story, but you're gonna have a lot of fun along the way, and picking up the little details here and there are where this book really shines.
Okay, well, good job, Mike Brooks. We like your book.
Yep, looking forward to the next one.
All right, so how about something we don't like so much?
Well, I don't know, you might still like this.
It's Factor fan fiction. Let's do it.
The stink of the grave hung around him so thick that even he could taste it. It was not so different from the flavor of corpse starch the guild gave the grinders as payment for their muscle, and for Spiff, that was about all he had to offer. The Underhive was in turmoil as the Rentarbites enforcers that Helmar sent down to quell the uprising had made the Scavies turn out. A right veritable feast for the harvest, Spiff thunk. Like his family, he thunk tall, he thunk far. Leaving behind the ways of the moody hammers and their plays of street cred for some scragging, Spiff found meaning with the grinders. Like the Emperor on the throne, there was power in corpses, there was meaning in corpses, and his life was surrounded by them, as much as the nutrient-rich sweat that dripped down from the hives above. Spiff always went to the meat shop when he wanted a thunk. A scragging had been itching at his gob for a while, and he set to work. While no tech nerd, he was plenty savvy to even some swank words, since his wizened 25 years of age showed him plenty.
You're starting to sound like a pirate.
Aye, in his thunk it came to him, the ultimate weapon for the scrum that was about to happen. Seeing the length of chains holding up the dismembered limbs of the Scavies who had tried to mess with the grinders in the guild, he turned to the hand saw. A bright and savvy thunk farther and taller than any before, Spiff clicked in Spiff's brain, and he began to make the weapon, the first of its kind. His mates had their chain swords, their chain axes, but he was to be the first with the mighty saw chain. Moments after its completion, the toxins ran out. Louder than the Goliath Sumpcroc bellow, these toxins notified the grinders that the guild needed their service, right fast and deadly like. He didn't know if it would be the Rentarbites enforcers, the Deadly Meat Gang, or those stringy Deluxe, but he knew the scrum was going to be brutal as he ran. His excitement grew as he swung his new weapon, the sound of its rotary blade roaring with toxin tolls. Faster and faster Spiff ran, thinking about the murder he was going to spin and the payment the guild would offer for a fresh lot of corpses, but he forgot something critical. It was wash day for the Underhive, and the Habs draped lines of clothing between them in hopes that the slightly less toxic air that came once a month would freshen their scent. Heedless of this obstacle as he dreamed about his new saw axe, his sprint brought him headlong through one such line, and the towel covered his face as he ran. Knowing his brother could never have made such a mistake, remembering how much his brother could thunk on the run, Spiff felt shame. Arriving to combat with a towel draping his face, he knew he fought for the grinders, but shed a tear for the insult the towel did to his family, the House of Tundrish. As the saw chain cored the first of the killgangers like an apple, Spiff yelled out, "That was for Biff!"
Oh my God. Biff Tundrish fan fiction?
Biff Tundrish.
It's fan fiction.
Blank fiction.
I think it's fan fiction.
Yes.
Okay.
That is fan fiction. A listener in a comment thread on, I think, the Independent Characters Facebook page, somebody posted a picture of the I think someone said that they wanted to write some fan fiction about why that one corpse grinder has a towel over his face. And I said, if someone writes it, I'll read it. And a listener, Andrew, sent that in to us earlier this week. And I was absolutely delighted to read it.
Yeah, I saw the email where I saw that you had responded to him with, "Dan, don't read this." And I didn't.
That's what I do every time someone sends in fan fiction.
I didn't. All right, gang.
I'm glad you did.
That was fun. That's good.
Yeah.
That's some good listener engagement.
Yeah, this has been an Underhivey episode.
It sure has. This is Necromunda episode part 2. All right, well, let's get some plugs in before we get out of here. We both write articles for Goonhammer. Go to goonhammer.com and see what's up. They have a ton of great stuff. Our friend Kevin Jensen has been doing these amazing Hammer of Math articles lately where he breaks down all the fucking crunchiest dumb shit from Warhammer 40k. It's fucking hilarious to be on the Discord as everybody's talking about this as he's working it out. And it seems like people are really, really enjoying it. But that's not all. We both write stuff for Goonhammer. I really stick to Necromunda because there are smarter people out there about 40k. And there's really nobody talking about Necromunda on any sort of stage anywhere. So I figured, hey, why not? Let's have some fun. And Campbell, post pictures of your amazing miniatures and talk about how you have
I stick to painting because that's all I know how to do.
And all that shit. So... yeah, but Goonhammer is a great resource, and I suggest that everybody go check it out. We also have a Patreon if you want to support the show. We have 3 levels of support: the $1 40k Friendo tier, the $5 Badcast Bad Boy tier, and the $6.90 actual cool guy. Wait. What is it? 40k fuck? Yeah, 40k fuckboy team. There we go. My brain. It is not. What time is it? It is not 7:00 at night on a fucking Tuesday at all. Not even a little bit. So yeah, come to patreon.com/40k Badcast. Sign up for one of those tiers and have fun with us. Just have some fun.
Yeah. Have fun with us. By giving us money.
Another way to give us money is to buy shirts, branded merchandise by the 40k Badcast. Man, we got to figure out a new one. We haven't done one since September. Actually, August, I guess, because it was before
August,
September.
before Nova.
So that's spreadshirt.com, shop.spreadshirt.com. I always fuck it up with the shop. It's shop.spreadshirt.com /40k Badcast.
/40k Badcast.
You can get some of our great shirts. I put this in the description of the podcast 2 episodes ago, which is don't only listen to assholes, look like one too. And I think that's the perfect way to describe our Spreadshirt shop.
I'm going to see if I can update the banner on that to just have that written in a nice cursive font.
You can also find us on social media. Twitter is a cool place to go. No, it's not. Twitter is really bad.
But we're there.
But we're both on it. I'm at DB_sleazy. He is at Brother SRM. I've been tweeting a lot about baseball recently because the Nationals, surprising everybody, are still in the World Series. And Campbell, you've been tweeting a lot about...
let me open Twitter and review that. I have not been tweeting very much lately because I value my mental health just a little bit more than
probably smart. You're also on Tumblr, though.
I am cam2d.tumblr.com. I post pictures of my models there as well as on Twitter, so you can see them twice, I guess. But I also have one more plug, which is a friend of the show and friend of both of us, Spencer Connell, is running a narrative event using Nova missions at Hobby Bunker in Malden, Mass. So December 8th, 2019 at 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Dice rolling at 10, hopefully.
Are you going to be there?
I am going to be there. So show up there if you want to, I don't know, punch me in the gut.
Meet your favorite Z-list celebrity in Malden, Massachusetts.
I'm sorry, Dan. Meet your second favorite Z-list celebrity. You've seen how many emails are addressed to me versus you. Registration.
No.
Oh, what's up?
Hold up. The emails, most of the emails are addressed to me because it's people who want to fight me on the internet.
That's called engagement, Dan. Know you nothing about being an influencer?
I'm the 40k Badcast heel. You're the baby face.
This is incredibly true.
This episode is all fucking wrestling and Necromunda.
They're basically the same thing if you play Goliaths. But anyway, Hobby Bunker, Malden, Massachusetts, December 8th. Be there and be square. Check out grimdarkgaming.com, all one word, and you should be able to find more stuff about that in there, like the mission packet and so on. Mission packet will be posted closer to date, so maybe it won't be up there just yet. But it's $20 to get in. You get to be part of their club for that $20. You get a big old prize pool out at the end of it. Like, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be Nova missions. And so that's December 8th.
All right, we also have an unofficial Facebook. It's the Cam Hammer Facebook page, which I think is...
It is facebook.com/40k Badcast, but it's still called Cam Hammer because I can't change it.
Yeah, well, that's our official shit because we're good at stuff. So yeah, and then of course the best way to get in contact with us, as always, is at our email address, contact@40kbadcast.com. Guys, you gotta fucking get in there. you got to get in there and fucking send us emails and ask us questions.
We got calls to make. We got calls to make. Also, you can send us non-we make to call emails because I'm always like, ooh, look, all these emails. I can't reply to any of these. So
yeah, so
send us a picture of your pets.
So
you know what to do.
I've been on the road and stuff and haven't been replying lately, but I'm going to set aside some time this week and actually talk to you fuckos. So please send us in shit. And your pets always. Just always send pictures of your pets.
Always pets.
Always
pets.
a good idea. All right, Crumbo. We end the show with a quote from the 40k universe every episode. So why stop now?
I don't know. Why stop now? Actually, it's good that we shouldn't ask this question because a questioning mind betrays a treacherous soul.
Excellent segue. I'm Dan Boyd. He's Campbell McLaughlin. We are the 40k Badcast. We are bad at 40k. You can too. And we will see you in the next cartoon.